So before I return my turret that I bought from nPAE, which you see on the right, I thought I would do a just a general overall look between the nPAE and then the Takahashi turrets. I'm going to refer you to look at the reviews I did of each of these, which I'll have links in the description, to get a fuller understanding of the Takahashi and the nPAE and why I am returning the nPAE. First, I want to take a look at how they were shipped. Again, the video showing the review of each will clearly show, but I must state that nPAE did a very poor job of shipping it and the way that I received it, with some paint chips and caps falling off during shipment. They did not retain it very well. The Takahashi was shipped beautifully, no issues. So the cost, you ask? Well, the nPAE currently is going for $800. I paid $895 because I wanted to get some extra things, one of which was 5 extra caps. We'll talk about that. Eyepiece caps, or port caps. And then the Takahashi was $580 complete. As you can clearly see, the differences, one of the major just outwardly differences, is the nPAE is a 6 eyepiece turret, 1.25 inches. The Takahashi is a 4 eyepiece, 1.25 inches. Let's talk about dust caps. I stated earlier that the nPAE, I had to purchase 5 extra caps. Now you're going to ask yourself, why the heck should that be? Why would one have to order dust caps? Shouldn't they come with some form of a dust cap? So let me just read real quick. In my one of my questions to nPAE preliminarily was, why only one cap? How do you keep dust off the units inside prior to selling it? What are you supposed to do when you put the unit in a case? No caps to protect from dust? I am very, very, very picky with my equipment. Here's the nPAE's answer to me. A full set of aluminum dust caps would add over 100, whatever their denomination is, I don't know what that symbol is, to the price. And as it's designed to be in constant use, it just seemed a waste to include something that will end up in a separate box. The mirror has a peel-off transport cover. The foam box wraps the unit tightly, so there is a limited airflow. And that's apparently what they're talking about. The shipping box, I'm not sure. The Takahashi, on the other hand, came complete with covers. Nothing extra to order, as it should be. Whether you want to have these nice aluminum covers or something cheap, the nPAE covers are very nice. But again, they only supplied you with one. So let's take a look. Here's the cover, the port cover from nPAE. Again, very nice. Okay, they supply one. I wanted them all, so I had to buy 5 extra ones. Takahashi gives you 4. So nothing extra to buy with the Takahashi. Alright, let's look at the cover for the nose piece, what they included. This came with what I would consider kind of a really cheap plug. And as I showed in my review, it's got a bunch of crap on it. Why would that, I mean, why would that even be let go? That just, no excuse for that. The Takahashi came with what I was hoping the nPAE would have, was a nice outside cover that fits over the OD. While we're at this area of the units, the nPAE is threaded for 1.25 inch filters, and I've tried them. They work fine, no issues. Now, one little disappointment with the Takahashi is it's not threaded for 2-inch filters. So a little disappointed, but it's not threaded for filters. Now, the advantage of a 2-inch opening at your nose piece versus 1.25 inches is the size of the diagonal and not getting any vignetting, getting a fuller field of view to your eyepieces. Let's look at the nPAE first. Pull the cap off. Let me pull this cap. And there you can clearly see the entrance from the nose piece to the eyepiece. Let's look at the marked difference in the Takahashi. That prism down there is just beautiful, just unbelievably clear. Let me try to present these both at the same time so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, there we go. So I wanted to show you individually, and now let's take a look at that together. It's a major difference, guys. Plus, when you have a larger nose piece, I believe that you would have a more rigid setup because you're going to have a larger diameter in which to clamp onto, and I feel that that would give you a better, more rigid setup than what an 1.25 inches provides. And even if it didn't, you clearly can see, as I showed, the marked difference that the Takahashi has with the 2-inch port nose piece versus the nPAE. They both go about it differently also as to holding the eyepiece. The nPAE uses these nice stainless steel thumb screws, as it were, and then it's got brass ring on the inside so that when the eyepiece goes in there, the brass ring, which is pushed by the set screw, thumb screw, holds the eyepiece. The Takahashi, on the other hand, uses a collet. It's a split collet like a lot of machines do because they self-center a collet. You've got a mill, you put a tool in there, whether it's a drill bit, whether it's a induxible drill, whether it's a milling head. It will self-center as you tighten it down. You can see how that's closing. So that would close down and pinch or grasp the eyepiece. So, two different distinct ways that each go about holding your 1.25 inch eyepieces in their turrets. The nPAE has what I thought was a really good idea with their perfocalizer, but as I showed in my review, it came up short. I won't use the word half-assed, but it came up short because there's no way of locking this down. When you go to the trouble of perfocalizing all your eyepieces and you're going to use those same ones, you want to be able to lock that down so that you can put the same ones in there. Okay, the Takahashi does not have that feature at all. You put the eyepiece in there, that's it. And one other thing while we're looking at it is, with the nPAE, it has this paper cover sticker. So as you look at it, the eyepiece in view is going to be this one, because you're using this telescope as the datum. As I rotate this about its axis, now you see that it would be this one. Now this one, and then back up to the top. So that's their indicator as to what eyepiece is viewable in the diagonal. Let's take a look at the Takahashi. Bit more professional. They've got a nice painted white dot, which has got a little milled surface with a nice painted dot in there. So as you rotate this, you can always see by that white dot. Let me do it the other way like I did this one. As you rotate it, now it's going to be the bottom eyepiece. The right eyepiece in the top. Very nice. Nicely done. Very disappointed, like I said, with the nPAE for many reasons. Look at the original video. Come up with your own answer. If you're happy with it, that's fine. I wasn't. That's why it's going back. Too many defects in it. Now, one feature that the nPAE has that the Takahashi doesn't have is that, and it probably doesn't need it because the Takahashi's got a collet which you have to rotate. But anybody that's had a telescope with a bunch of different knobs on it in the evening knows you could accidentally loosen something. And if you're doing a public star parties, somebody touches something they shouldn't. So a really nice feature that I thought in the nPAE are these little set screws in the back. So you can, as I showed in my review, you can put an eyepiece in here. Instead of locking it down with this, you can use this. So that way, if you, the observer, or someone else accidentally turns it, your eyepieces aren't going to go crashing to the ground. So I thought that was a good feature. Definitely something when you have a thumb screw, that's a good feature. When you have a collet, again, not needed because you have to physically rotate the collet. That's not going to happen when you're looking through the eyepiece like this. So not needed on the Takahashi, a nice feature on the nPAE. The nPAE turret, as you can see, comes apart. Here's your parting line up and down. They say you can take it apart to clean the, they're using a certain, I can't think of the name. They're not using a prism per se, they're using a different material. Starts with an M. Whereas the Takahashi, you can't take it apart, but you've got, let me rotate that into view. You've got plenty of room in there that you could take a swab like you would for cleaning your camera sensors. Both at the front and at the back. Now in regards to the Takahashi, I show how I accomplish this. You are able to take off one of the eyepiece barrels per se with the collet, and now you have much better access as to cleaning the prism should you ever need to. The Takahashi, you can actually put one big eyepiece in one of the holders, whereas you can't do that with the nPAE. It'll fall down, which one would think it would, but the Takahashi's built so well that I can put a large Delos eyepiece in just one of these, put it horizontal, and it stays. It will not rotate. You do that to the nPAE and it just rotates down, which again I would expect to happen. I would expect that. I wouldn't expect it to stay. The Takahashi, it does. Unbelievable. So hopefully I've highlighted some of the differences between the nPAE on your left, Takahashi on your right. This is not meant to be an all-encompassing review. Please look for the description to see the review of each one of these. But just a quick look at the two together. Sometimes you need to see two items together. You can look at one review and another review, but when you see two of them at the same time, it paints a better picture. And I wanted to do this before the nPAE goes back.